think we're live. I think we're live, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going? I'm Paul O'Neill. Good to see you all. When I say all, that's 7 people. Oh, actually, there's quite a few people there. Hello, Shaz. How's it going? Sausage Curb's all here. Laura's here. Guys, it's good to see you all. Ian, how are you? My mum's here. Joan, Kathy Ford. Nice. Right, let's get Cookie in. So we've got Cookie tonight. One and only Cookes. I'm hoping to see some full-on Barnet, lockdown Barnet from the Joshter. Oh my word, you got an apron on.
You alright?
Cookie, how are you, mate?
Not bad, you?
I'm all right. A couple of things. One, why do you look like Michael Crease with a hat on, who's dyed his beard? And 2, why have you got Tom Chilton's trophies behind you?
I'm actually still at work, and the only item of BTC racing clothing I had on me, because obviously got me on brand, was my hat. So I got that on. Plus, have you seen how much ginger hair I've got because of this lockdown? I think it's best to keep it covered up.
I like it. That looks amazing. You look like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but the Django version.
So I'm actually in the board office room at work, so that's why that's my water bottle. Like that. And then
I thought that was kind of. So what? That's a good. I was going to ask you about this actually, mate. So obviously, what was the sketch with? Because it's Cook Sport that you run, isn't it? What do Cook Sport do, mate? If people don't know.
yeah, so we got a place down in Bath, and
Bath. Yeah, Bath.
Bath. And we predominantly do suspension systems for race cars and road cars and kind of performance cars. So we're the UK importer, distributor and service centre for AST and Moton. But then we also got a workshop where we've got a few customers' cars and do anything from like a full race car build from the ground up to anything like kind of service and maintenance on some people's performance cars. So there's 5 or 6 of us here, 5 of us here. Work full time. Obviously, at the minute, everybody's on lockdown, so I'm the only one that's not furloughed and working here at the workshop. So it's a busy time, but the important thing is everybody stay safe.
Yeah, no, exactly, mate. And I spoke to you tonight last week, I think it was, and you were showing me around a car where you were sorting out, and you were putting a gearbox in a car. I didn't think drivers I can't even take a wheel off a car. No jokes, mate.
You've taken more than just a wheel off a car, a whole side generally. But yeah, I've got quite an experienced background from a mechanical perspective. So I've got a degree in motorsport engineering. I've always built my own race cars, always run them. So yeah, we do anything, like I say, from gearbox rebuilds to suspension builds to engine builds to anything. So I do a lot of fabrication myself as well. So yeah, anything.
Yeah, fabricating the truth usually.
Yeah. I get that from you.
Yes. Learn from the best, mate.
Yeah.
Listen, a shout out actually to BTC Racing have just joined, so hello to you guys. Will that be Zoe doing that?
It could be, or it could be Nikki, it could be Bert, it could be a couple of people.
Oh, right, okay, could be everyone.
Yeah.
But listen, I want to give the fans a shout out actually, because the Pitch app. Pitch BTCC app is a new thing, and I'm not going to wax lyrical about it because this is about you and me chatting, but everybody seems to have got behind it because people like touring cars, don't they? And people want more accessibility, and you've always loved touring cars. I've known you for quite a while, Josh, and what is it that makes British touring cars stand out for you as a driver and a person?
Do you know what? There's sometimes when you're in touring cars and you get to a race weekend and it can be so frustrating, and they say motorsport is 99% disappointment from the team and the driver's perspective, but that 1% can be just like change everything. And touring cars, the lows are fairly low when you're having a tough weekend, but when things go well, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like the racing you get in it. There's nothing like the atmosphere, the amount of fans that are there. It is nuts. So I don't think there's any other championship like it in the world, and just the competitiveness of the racing is just insane. I mean, you can start the weekend on the back row of the grid and still win a race. It's amazing to be in. So I can see why everybody loves it so much.
Yeah, it is crazy, isn't it? Because when you think of its competition, probably world touring cars. There's a lot of long circuits, and the action, maybe the wide circuits as well, don't really give us as much action as we do in British touring cars, do they?
Yeah, I think the bigger circuits that you get in Europe and around the world, they're obviously more geared towards Formula One and big GT racing. I mean, the circuits that we go on, you'll struggle to fit three cars aside at some places, but we still manage it somehow. So I think that kind of exaggerates it a little bit more as well. That you have to be, you have to put your car somewhere that's risky to try and pull a move off. Whereas when you go to the bigger open circuits, sometimes if you get it wrong, it's okay because there's loads of room. Whereas we don't have that in British touring cars. If you get it wrong, it often doesn't end well, which is great from a spectator's perspective. That's for sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't know, mate. I've never had an accident in a touring car.
No, really?
Never, mate.
Never.
Fiery one in the pit wall at
Really?
Knockhill.
Never.
I've been
No.
absolutely. On that note, actually, I'm going to ask people, if you want to ask Josh some questions, or both of us, or whatever, give us a shout. And if you think, why have I got a pen? It's because I can see a couple of things coming in, and I'm writing it down as we go through, which is quite interesting for a man, isn't it? Multitasking. But listen, just a quick one, actually. Let's answer this while you're on, Josh. Philip Hard, I think it was. Let me see where he is. I don't want to get his name. Oh yeah, Philip Hardboard. Is that not what you put up in your house? Philip has asked, are you doing any sim racing during lockdown, either of you? You go first, mate. I don't think you are, 'cause you're working, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a simulator that goes into the Xbox, but nothing like the guys have got that are doing a lot of it. In all honesty, I've just not had the time. I'd like to, but yeah, it's not something I've had a chance to do yet. But perhaps when things return to a bit more normal, I might get involved in it because it does look quite fun.
Yeah, I've so before lockdown, I featured in a couple of horrendous races. We Are the Race asked me to go down. Like, I was racing. I remember lining up on the grid. I went to Indy, well, went to Silverstone, and I sat in the sim, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, he's definitely going to show them boys." Well, the only thing I showed them was how to barrel roll at high speed into turn.
And then DNF and leave early.
All right, yeah, no one knows about that. You know about that. So what Josh did, that I had a prior engagement, so I had to leave early and just race. But that was because I needed to get home and things happening. Anyway, yeah, but you know what happened? It was then funny because I out-qualified Tony Kanaan, and I was like, yes, have some of that, Tony, as he drove me straight in the pit wall. Quick shout out to Tash Robinson, who's just joined. Tash is a very good friend of mine. I know she's super excited to join today. So, do you want to say hello to Tash as well, Josh?
Hello.
I still think you've got an apron on. It's weird. You're like a butcher. But with
It's actually my fleece, my work fleece. I guess it's backwards, is it? It says Team Cook Sport.
Yeah.
Nice,
mate. It's really
thanks.
That's all right. Josh, what do you think the chances are of spectators being able to attend some of this year's revised races if they do go ahead? That's a difficult one, that one.
Yeah, it's just going to be what the government guidelines say, isn't it? Obviously, it's going to take things. Obviously, for spectators, they're not going to be able to see it, but from a driver perspective, it does take away a little bit of that sparkle about touring cars. But safety first, and as we know, the ITV guys do a great job with commentary. So I think it's going to be good to watch if it has to be watched from home on television.
I'll go with you on that, mate, because we're always honest, aren't we? And ITV have not said a thing to us. We're just waiting for the start of the season, and we'll, whatever our instructions are, we go from there. So, but
yeah.
However safe it has to be, that's where we go, like Josh said. So yeah, defo. Josh, talk about racing. I met you in 2010, I think, in Castle Coombe.
Yeah.
And in the pit lane, we were sharing some jokes.
Yeah.
Through a good friend of ours, Ryan Bensley. And I remember I was looking after Ryan Bensley, or coaching him a bit, and Dan Malone in production touring cars. I always remember you again, and it was difficult to judge how good you were, because the championship to me looked quite a bit different. The cars all looked a bit different, but I just always remember your Brands Hatch Indy just absolutely wiping the floor with everybody, and I just lad is so fast. And then I got to meet you as well. I was like, he is the funniest, most nicest man I've ever seen. He's just, but oh, he's ginger. He's put me off a bit. It was an amazing time. The club racing was great, wasn't it?
It was, and it's cute that you remember the first time that we met. It's quite cute. But yeah, it does seem strange. Like you never think that you're going to get to any kind of level that I've done. I started in club racing, and I even getting onto the Toka package, I thought was just completely out of reach. It was, we know that motorsport's expensive, and I just couldn't see a path of how I was going to get there. But just kept my head down, just season after season, and even just getting onto the touring car grid was a big thing for me. It was a big achievement. So to go on and stay in it, so far for as long as I have done. All these goals that I've managed to reach, getting into the BRDC as well, that was a big thing for me. So just all these little milestones, and that you have to take a little step back, especially in times like this where you get a lot of time to reflect and kind of sit back. You have to appreciate how far that we've managed to go. So I'm definitely not taking it for granted, and I just can't wait to get going again. It's something that you go into that winter period a little bit, time to breathe and relax. Getting back into the car, testing in Spain was like ready to go. Media day, like right, we are good to go. And then having it all stop again, it's like it does really take kind of a rhythm out of your annual cycle that you have. Because I've been racing for God knows how long now, since I was it's got to be 16, 17 years. So suddenly this is the first season that's not kind of kicked underway in like April time. So it's weird.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because just like speaking for myself, I remember, and you're probably the same, it's the not knowing whether you're going to have the partnerships and the money to go racing. And I remember, winter for me was a very depressing time, if I'm being dead honest. And I think I speak for both of us and maybe a lot of the grid, except Tom Chilton, who's minted, that, it's difficult, isn't it? Saying that. It's difficult, even though I did go to Barbados one year and Tom was there, and I played tennis with him. It was like Boxing Day or something, and it was great. And family looked after, bet about £4 million on me. I had a great Tom. It's difficult though, isn't it, as a driver, getting into that. I'm a racing, yes I am. Let's focus. Let's get fit. How do you how do you focus on that, mate? How do you do it? I have my own way.
Yeah, well, in terms of getting into a rhythm of a season, it's you kind of get that point, and everything after Christmas always starts to build up. You get the Autosport show, that really starts to make things, pushing things forward. And it's just the drive that you get for wanting to win that gets you to, go that extra further with doing fitness. And I just think the more or the better state I'm in physically, the better state it puts you in mentally, because we know that motorsport is a huge mental sport. Even the best drivers, if they're knocked off their confidence a little bit, they can just take ages to recover. So keeping in physical shape and knowing that you're doing all the right things definitely keeps you focused for sort of the start of the season. But I mean, we always talk about, like, you obviously ask us a lot of questions, a lot of the drivers, and you always play down a little bit about you're done with it now. And, you used to obviously do a lot of driving. You always played that card, and I've seen you drive. And you always played that card, the nice guy, and like, but you can drive. You're a quick peddler. So do you miss it? Do you miss any of the driving? Do you go through the winter like, I want to get behind the wheel again? Or are you like, I've done my time, and you look forward to other things now?
That's interesting. Very interesting question, mate. No one ever asks me that, I suppose. But do you know what's really interesting is that me and Tim Harvey speak quite a lot before the races and things. And when we go to certain circuits, like, if we pitch up at Brands GP or Thruxton or Knockhill, and he's like, should we get in one? Should we get in one? Come on. And that's the only time. Yeah, come on, Tim. Come on, fat lad. Let's crack on. Yeah. But that's the only time I'm like, I never look at anybody on the grid and go, God, I'd smoke him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Even though you would with quite a few.
To be fair, probably Creasy, I'd destroy him. But no, a serious note, I do, but it's waned over the years because I enjoy my job so much.
Yeah.
Uh, the pundit stuff for ITV, the new pitch BTCC app, doing that will be fantastic. But also commentating on a Sunday. When you see
Yeah.
what it means to the kids in juniors, and it's I live off that, mate. But
Yeah.
I'm still competitive. That's probably why I do a lot of riding and stuff.
But when you look at when you got back into that mini challenge car a couple of years ago, like, I would not want to get into any single make series for a weekend and just try and compete with, because no matter what, any race championship that's of that size, they're all quick, and you just banged it. Were you front row third or something on the grid, or you finished on the podium?
Yeah,
Like,
no, but mate, as a driver, you never think that, do you? You kind of pitch up and you're like, no pun intended. You kind of pitch up and you're like, let's just see how it goes. But once and I'm giving it the large one, and like Jordan Collard's my teammate who was fast, and Rob Smith and a few people were there, and I'm like, yeah, we'll see how we get on. And like, I'm half a second up the road in practice, and I come in the truck, and they're all looking at me as if I've invented fire with my hands. And what makes it worse, I'm taking the mickey all the time, aren't you? I'm like, yeah, just give it the large one, and I'm going out the truck going, have some of that, lads, because I'm like you, I'm competitive, and when I get in a car, it used to matter against Muller, Thompson, all them people like your teammates. And that's the one thing I was going to ask you about. You've never been beaten by a teammate in the standings. You've had Ash Sutton as a teammate.
Yeah.
Dave Newsham, who I actually really respect and highly rate. That was your first year. He didn't beat you in the standings. Ash Sutton, the champion the next year after he was teammates with you. I mean, do you have that self-belief? Because we were good friends, and you're a good guy, mate. And you always seem very modest. And what makes it for you?
I just look at it, and I've mentioned this before, and for some reason, the way that I just look at it is everybody for me is just human. And if somebody else can do it, there's no reason why I can't do it, or there's no reason why I can't do better if I apply myself even more. So I always go back to that. I don't know, I've just got a saying that I go back to in my head: everybody puts their trousers on one leg at a time. And that just always goes back into my head. And I'm like, right, if somebody's quicker than me, all I have to do is work out why, do the same, and worst case scenario, I'll be the same. I'm not going to be worse. Worst case scenario, if I apply myself and do what they're doing, I'll be the same. If I work even harder, I'll be quicker. And yet, I've just done that every single season, and that's not to say that a teammate's not going to beat me in touring cars in the championship standings. But it's a nice record to have, and I've just got to keep doing the best job I can do. And if somebody puts on a better campaign than me and they beat me, then fair enough. But, my goal isn't just to beat my teammate, it's to be the overall champion. And obviously, to do that, I'm going to have to beat my teammates as well.
But do you know what? What you've just said is absolutely so impressive, because, not because I'm going to tell you something now, but when I remember Charlie Cox, who used to commentate on British touring cars when I started in 2001, and we were getting quotes for the press and the media for me to build up to get into AAA in the touring car the next year. And I always remember his quote said, there is no reason why this guy can't be as good as anyone else. He has the same body temperature as every human out there, unless he's old. And I was like, actually, it's just such a good thing. And it's like what you're saying, isn't it? You have to have that self-belief. And, luckily for you, you've got Tom Chilton as your teammate. So, I mean, that's self in itself, isn't it? But you know what? Tom is one of my very good friends. And I'm sure you're going to tell me now he's an absolute gent. I really like Tom. He's great, brilliant, isn't he? And great for the team, I think, as well. Yeah,
Tom's a super nice guy. He's obviously got a lot of experience. He's really enthusiastic. And, that's it's a great personality to have in the team. And Creasy as well. Like, what a guy, he comes off across as a joker to a lot of people. He's really caring, really, interested in other people. He's always checking up, make sure I'm doing well, and and he's just a real hard worker. I'm super impressed. When we came back from Spain, I genuinely couldn't have been more impressed with what Creasy did. So I think when we eventually get going, I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. Fully down to earth, But yeah, we're in a really good place as a team. You know, it's a really nice atmosphere. So yeah, I think we're lucky.
And it's strong, isn't it? Like you say, I've looked at the lineups and I'm like, that's a really strong team. You know, with Creasy coming in and he'll get close to the podium, I think, on a reverse grid or something like that. And that's no disrespect to him. I think he's a lot faster than people make out. That's just me speaking as a pundit. But
Yeah.
like, you know, there's not many people who are quicker over one lap than Tom Hilton. And that you know, he's been around a long time. He knows
Yeah.
what the situation is. He's had some fantastic teammates. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting. And talking about championships, mate, and winning championships, it looked on for you, didn't it? As well as it did the other four guys that were involved last year. How did you deal with that? Because it was a bit of a damp squib at the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, just took every race as it came, and my goal from the word go was just the overall championship. I wasn't looking at the independence championship. I was just looking at the drivers overall. And if we'd have played our cards a bit differently, obviously the independents might have been on. But you know, just with how we worked, you know, I went out every single race, got as many points as I could, made sure that I finished. Sometimes I gave places up because the driver I was battling with was just too aggressive, and it obviously was going to either end with damage or, you know, too risky. And we just played the game all year. I think we scored more points in race 3 than anybody else. We led, I think, second or third most laps in the season, something like that. You know, we just played the game, and we were in it on the final weekend. The only issue is we had a DNF, and that just takes you out of it. As soon as that happened, you know, our tactics changed a little bit for the rest of the weekend, and the gloves came off, and we just went for that independence title. But you know, it didn't happen last year in terms of any of the championships. But we had a good showing. You know, I think you know, I beat Rory in the overall championship, but the way the points work on the independence, he just picked me in that. So yeah, that's the way it goes. But I wouldn't change anything we did last year because we literally rocked up, no testing. Car was, you know, the deal was kind of pretty late in terms of coming together, and the cars, we were waiting for parts for them to go together. So it was a really, really impressive season, I think, from the team last year and what we managed to achieve. So I'm looking forward to getting going again. We're going to have all of that data that we've got from previous circuits last year. So yeah, it's going to be good. But I'm quietly confident. I'm in better shape than I've ever been. I think I'm more ready for it than I've ever been. So yeah, you're looking forward to it.
Oh man, so that's good to hear. What about then? Can I ask? Because we're talking about the team, BTC Racing. How influential has Nick Dudman been, who has a corporate association with the team, and you know, how much do you owe to him and probably some other people as well? By the way, your missus has just started to watch a minute ago, so that's death.
Do you mean Steve Dudman?
Sorry, am I on about Nick?
Don't know. Must be somebody else.
Sorry,
yeah.
Steve.
But obviously Steve Dudman, Bert Taylor and Ben Taylor, the three of them were instrumental in getting me part of the team at the start of 2019. Like I said, I've said the story a few times. At the start of the season in 2019 at the Autosport show, I had no drive. I was out. You know, I was almost accepting that I wasn't going to be out there. And I sat down with those guys at the Autosport show. We started to put some plans in place, and things came together. So, if it wasn't for those three, wouldn't have been on the grid. And just to do, you know, just to do the job we did at all, let alone coming from nothing and not having a drive, it was, yeah, I'm mega grateful to those guys. And if nothing else, we want to do well this year just for them because, you know, they deserve a championship.
They could have picked anyone though, mate. Why did they pick you? I've got an idea of why, but you know, they could have
pure blackmail. No, honestly, I've known the guys for quite a while. Met Steve Dudman through Bert and Ben. But Ben used to be part of Power Max back when I first started in touring cars. He was then at Triple Eight a little bit when I was there before they went off and set up obviously BTC Racing initially. So yeah, I knew the guys. Obviously Paul Hartley, the crew chief, he was at Triple Eight when I was there with Ash. And just know loads of the guys. You know, Dom, my number one, he was on my car when I was in that MG. So it wasn't when I went there. It wasn't like I was going to a new team. I literally knew all the guys, and it was a really nice place to go. So yeah, it was it's good.
There's a lot of love hearts, mate, and love faces coming on. If you look at, I don't know if you can see them, but
You got a lot of relatives watching, or
no, they're all like, "Hi, Josh." Oh, hi, Josh, and like thumbs up, and then like loads of love faces. People love it. 1985 MCJ. Josh is a future champion. Such a talented driver.
thanks.
I'm going to embarrass you, mate, but I'm always very vocal about people and drivers who I think are worthy of what they've got. But like, you're one of the people that strikes me. I don't think there's that many of them actually that can actually. You could probably engineer a car and drive it as fast as you could engineer it. And another person actually who's pretty much like that is Mike Bushell. But how important is it to have an understanding of engineering? Because I still don't know what tow or camber does.
Do you know what? I think you have to. The knowledge of what the car does obviously helps me in certain situations, but on a race weekend, although I know exactly what's going on, I have to have 100% faith in what the team are doing. It's hard enough on a race weekend just sorting out the driving side. Yes, I can engineer a car to a certain extent, and I understand how everything works. But I wouldn't be so naive to say that I'm the one that pushes everything. The team have a huge part to play. Yes, I know what's going on, and it just means that we can perhaps eliminate things a little bit quicker than if we were to put them on the car and try them, because I understand the theory behind it very clearly. So, and once we've tried things and I know exactly what they do, we don't have to often revisit them. And it's like I say, it's just very quick at getting through the processes of testing new things. So, yeah, I mean, it helps, but it's not to say that it gives me a massive advantage at all. But yeah, I'd certainly take it over not having a clue what's going on.
Yeah, no, yeah, man. Honestly, I'm so glad I had Kev Berry as my engineer. He's obviously had championships with Turkington and everyone, and I just said, Kev, throw whatever's going on the car, mate, and just tell me what it'll do. And he's like, yeah, no. So that won't work. Talking teams and talking of not team members, but family members who are very supportive. And Steph, your better half, you met Steph quite a while back, and she was. I always remember when I knew you and you two guys getting together. She was very instrumental in a lot of looking after corporate sponsors and things like that. And I mean, she deserves a proper shout out, doesn't she? Because unless you split up with her, or
yeah, I've got to be honest. Everybody in the whole family, from my brothers to my parents to everybody, as you know, with racing, it's not just a single kind of hobby that you just do now and again. At this level, it just consumes your life, and you have to have a lot of support. And I think that goes for everybody up and down the pit lane. I don't think anybody could do it without the sacrifices that the families behind the scenes make. So yes, I'm very lucky to be in a position I'm in. And that's, like I say, you certainly can't get to where I've done without that support. So obviously I'll always be grateful. And at some point I'll probably have to be nice, like not put them in a home, my parents, when they get old. So I'll have to repay the favour.
Your dad is the spitting image of Steve Ryder, though, isn't he?
Yeah.
He hates that, doesn't he? He hates it. Proper fella. But it's great, isn't it? The family support is always pretty awesome. Just seen a nice question, actually. Pit Lane Marv, it's a privilege to be doing work experience as a mechanic for BTC Racing. Such a great team to be around. That's a nice little note, isn't it? So the team is pretty, nice, isn't it, to be in a good team atmosphere? Because racing isn't all about what you do on the track, is it really?
No, I've got to be honest. The guys, all of the guys just want to win, and they all want to have a good time as well. There's no, even when things go badly, everybody just picks each other up and they just crack on. And I've been places before in other championships and other teams and all sorts where actually things can be quite kind of segmented and quite kind of cold at times, and it does kind of change how you kind of feel about the the races and the sessions coming up. But the team that I'm in is literally just you couldn't ask for a better atmosphere at all. It is like I can't wait to get there, see all the guys. I speak to a lot of them away from the racetrack as well. It's not just rock up and hi, how's it been going for the past month? I'm literally like, I was on Call of Duty the other night with my number one because he's a good laugh and he's amazing on it. So the what?
Steph, you're number one.
Dom.
Number one mechanic.
Yeah. Yeah. You're my number one, Paul.
Thanks, mate. Hey, listen, what about, this is a good one. BTCC House of Memes. Is that what that is? Or is it memes?
I don't know.
Oh, well, a meme was something that like an ex-girlfriend of mine used to call her. Anyway, Vauxhall or Honda, best cars you've ever driven?
Well,
Honda.
It's obviously the Honda's a mega car. It's amazingly engineered and the way it's put together by the team. Dynamics and with how they've designed everything is mega. BTC, obviously, everything has to be maintained properly, so they do a mega job. You always have a bit of a there's been races where you think, you know what, that was absolutely perfect. And there was a couple of times in the MG where I felt that was really dialed in. But as the best all rounder, you've got to go with that with that Honda. It is a masterpiece.
I like it. Just a little quick one as well. Lisa Peters. Hello, Lisa. How different is your car to the Team Dynamics FK8? It's a good question.
In terms of the components, a lot of them come from Team Dynamics. The shells came from them, the bodywork comes from them. But what happens underneath with dampers and setup and springs and anything like that is all done in-house with BTC. So although they can look the same, what's going on underneath is our own concept. We've not got exactly what they've got, and we have different strengths and weaknesses. I think last year it's fair to say that we struggled a little bit on the Saturday in qualifying because I was carrying success ballast, because all year I was inside the top 4 in the championship, and the only time I was that far down was at the end of the season. So I think we struggled a little bit on the Saturday, and that's where the Dynamics car probably shone a little bit. But the Sundays we were always really, really strong. So we took lap records on race day a couple of times. So yeah, it's although it looks the same, there are differences.
Okay, mate. Nice. Just a quick one on this. Emma Collins, who would you like to see graduate up to the BTCC paddock from the support packages? I've got one, but who have you got?
Obviously, I've worked with a few drivers throughout different championships. I'd like to see Jade get in a car. That'd be quite good. Yeah, be good just to see how she'd fare on a couple of race weekends, and because touring cars is very different.
She'd barrel roll. She'd be out. She doesn't roll.
The thing is, I just think touring cars is a little bit different to the likes of Clios. Clios, there's a very specific way of driving them, and if you can't get to grips with that, it's tough to win races in it. But a touring car you can do a lot more with, and once you can get your head around it, you can start to really make headway.
Mate, that's so interesting to say that, because someone asked me the other day, what's the hardest touring car you've ever drove? I said, can I ask another question? What's the hardest race car you've ever drove? It was my first 2 seasons of racing in MGF Cup cars. There was such a single track, how you just had to change your driving style to drive. Yeah. And it was so hard. I remember winning at Alton, and then the next weekend I raced with someone in like a brick car race in my old MGF. I crashed it. About 5 miles an hour. It was so hard to drive. Hard work, isn't it? Hard work.
Yeah, it is. But it's like I said, there's probably a few people that definitely deserve to move up into touring cars. And you see anybody that's quick in any of the support championships, they usually get in and deliver in a touring car. So it's definitely a good proving ground. Clio Cup was fantastic. I'm sure Mini Challenge is gonna be the same. As a Ginettas, and I'll tell you what, been coaching some Ginetta Junior drivers with Edge and the R Racing guys, and those kids are absolutely nuts. They are absolutely nuts, and they can drive. I hope none of them get into touring cars, because if they do, I'm going to leave.
I've seen your Instagram stories with you and Phil too, and I mean, I've sat with a few Ginetta Junior kids. I sat with Tom Gamble on his first ever go of a Ginetta Junior, and they're not rapid, but at the same time they move around so much, don't they, on the treaded
Yeah.
type? And I remember he went out the pits at Rockingham. He'd never been. He'd never been on track before. Went out, and he'd been on a sim or something. He just took the first corner flat. It was like this, you know, how Rockingham, how slippy it was. And it was raining, and I was like, just be careful. And he just looked at me, and he was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like that, towards the wall. And I was like, yeah, he's pretty good. We'll come in this time, mate. We'll have a little chat.
Yeah.
We
We had pre-season testing for Ginetta Juniors, and there was me and Ash Sutton both in the passenger seats of 2 Ginetta Juniors at Thruxton. Now that was not the most comfortable of experiences, because I was petrified, but I also wanted us to overtake Ash. So it was not a good combo. But I'll tell you what, there's some talented drivers in juniors.
Oh, mate, I love it. I love the juniors. We'll have a last question here from Oliver James Webb, who is our celebrity friend. All right, Ollie Lidlid. He's the only person I know on here that's got a white tick, and he usually has a drone following him around, like, because and his missus is just the nicest thing I've ever seen. She's unbelievable. Gosh, fancies her. Hope Steph still watches. What's your favourite track plus car combo ever? ×2, you sexy beasts. So you go first.
It's got to be, where were we? In Arizona, in a 600 LT Spider.
Yes, boy.
That aside, it's still got to be, I think, probably it was in a P1 GTR at Monza. That was amazing, as you can imagine.
What? Josh, I am with you, mate. I'm exactly with you on that, because I drove the P1 GTR. I think it was the same day as you at Monza as well. I think we just had to go.
Yeah.
And we were like, I don't know, 160 mile an hour around Grandi Curvy or Curvy Grandi, or what are the big curve? The one that's flat with loads of other here.
It is when we're in it.
It was, mate. What an absolute privilege when it to drive something like that. So I'm with you on that. So that's your question now, Ollie. You can go to sleep and go away. No more questions. Right, okay. I'm going to ask you just a couple of things, mate, because I don't want to take your time up. Well, we've been on here for 37 minutes, but there's still people watching. This is quite pretty cool. Let me take you back to 2018 in the Astra. One of your best years, I thought. You really dragged that car around, engineered it properly, finished 6th in the championship, and probably one of the best races that will be replayed so many times against Ash Sutton at Brands GP. Talk me through it, mate. What an absolute stormer that was for the win.
Unbelievable. Finished 2nd. What the...
You led it for so long.
Do you know what? In that race, we didn't have the quickest car at all. And I overtook for the lead, and I knew that Ash was in 3rd, and I knew I just had to get away. And I had about 4 or 5 car lengths, and within a lap, Ash was just on my bumper. And I knew, I was like, if this was for a championship, you know, you'd be wise about it. But it wasn't. It was the last race of the year, and I thought, I'm going to fight him for this. And I know what he's like. I know where he places the car. You know, he knows the same with me. And I just fought him. And every time he overtook, I knew if I didn't get a cutback straight away, he would just drive off. So as soon as he got the overtake done, I'd force him to go a little bit deep if he had to and just get the cutback. And every single time, it just seemed to work. And I was like, I don't know how we're sticking this, but coming into the last corner on the last lap, I was like, this is perfect. just hang it into the middle of the circuit. Came off the corner well, and literally we're coming down the start finish straight, and Ash has just rested his front wheel on my rear left wheel. And when somebody does that, it's like they pulled the handbrake up, and it just happened, and I was just there, flat. I was like this, looking at the car, as Ash just creeped past. And I tell you what, I knew I'd lost it when we went across the line, because I could just see it. I'd say I'd never worked so hard for a 2nd place. It was, let's not talk about it. I'm still not over it.
Hey, you wouldn't want to lose to anyone else, though, would you? To be fair.
No, but at least, at least if somebody did well out of it, it was Ash. But then I got to say, you know, we just gave each other room everywhere. You know, there was times where you could have just, yeah, could have run him off the road. He could have run me off the road, and it would have just ruined it. And people say, coming around the last corner, why don't you just let it? Yeah, why don't you just run him off? And I'm like, what a terrible way to end a fantastic race for me to send him off in the gravel. And it's just, it wouldn't have been, you know, even if I had won it, it wouldn't have been a proper win. You know, you don't. That's not a way to win a race. So,
so interesting. So interesting. You say that, mate. Would you have done? Would you have ran someone out if you? I don't know. Say, Rob Collard. Would you have thought I'd need to squeeze in? Did it? Was it because it was Ash?
Do you know what you could? You kind of give what you get in touring cars, and there's drivers that would have sent me off in those situations, and you know, you learn how you race with certain individuals. And there's been drivers where, you know, I've driven hard and rough with in the past, and sometimes I've come off worse, sometimes I've come off better. But you know, something I've learned over the few years is what matters is just making sure that you finish, and you're not just doing it for yourself in that moment. There's a whole team of people behind you that just would do anything for that decent result. And to throw away, for example, a second place because I ran him off the road and it went badly, you know, it's not good for the team and the sponsors. So I think you kind of learn that over the years.
Yeah.
But you know, there's people, like I said, I've been hard racing with in the past. Like me and Ingram used to knock a lot of bodywork off each other's cars. But the last couple of years, like I've been around the outside of him in some dodgy places. He's left me room, and you know, I've been the same. And now he's a hard racer, but we just have that bit of respect for each other, and it just works well. And you definitely see the drivers that are fairly new into touring cars haven't learnt that yet, and they'll learn it the hard way, just like I did.
Very interesting you say that, because you know, I know when you come into it, especially in the MG, there was a couple of instances which I thought weren't even your fault, but people were talking, and I had to defend your corner, not because you're my mate, just because, you know, I know right from wrong like you. But now no one had ever put that past you. Like that race, probably Alan Gow was very proud of you that day, mate, who's the series organizer, because he would have thought, thank God he didn't end that by sticking in the gravel. And it's a long-term game. It's like the championship, isn't it? You know, it's very long-term.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nice after that race at Brands. You know, Alan came and found me and Ash together and just thanked us both. Said we did a lot for ourselves and we did a lot for the championship. And it's quite nice. The following week, that all we saw was loads of comments about that race. Which poor Colin, he just won the championship, but all I could see was posts about that final race.
Don't worry, mate. He's got 4. He won't be that bothered.
Yeah, he could give that one up. It's fine.
Last question, and then I'm just going to end it by just telling everybody something that's quite interesting. Who do you? What kind of advice would you give to a youngster coming up through the ranks in club racing? Say somebody like the Civic Cup or something like that. Is it a feasible option to get to touring cars?
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, the most important thing is you have to just enjoy the racing you're doing. If you're not enjoying what you're doing, you're never going to take it further. And just because you're at a higher level of driving or a higher status championship, it doesn't mean you're going to enjoy it more. You know, that I've been in races in the Citroen C1 24-hour race that have been some of the most fun I've had in a race car. You know, I've done some endurance racing with McLaren that's amazing, and you know, touring cars is amazing. But it's about what you enjoy the most. And I still go jump back in a go-kart and I go hacking around the circuit around Dunkswell because it's just what I like doing and it's fun. You know, there's no pressure. So the most important thing is that you just enjoy it and just keep plugging away. And if you do well and you're committed in wanting to win, you'll get to wherever you want to go.
Absolutely, mate. It's proper sound advice. That I'm fully with you. Love it. That's competition is competition, but always enjoy what you do, and that's exactly how I start the racing, and I regret nothing. It's amazing. Josh, so because I'm going to be doing my new segments on Pitch BTCC on the Saturdays of British Touring Cars, we put a poll out, and we had loads of different names come through for the segment. The fans chose the names. They first of all they sent the names in, then we got the top 6, I think it was, and then we put it out to poll. And tonight I'm actually going to tell you who's won, or what names won. You're going to love this, mate, and I know you're going to laugh as soon as I say it. But with 67% of the votes, which is a lot of the votes, because the next name was only 19%. 67% was never mind the ballast. What do you think this would mean, Josh?
I couldn't comment.
What?
Where's Chippy Tits?
You can't swear on these things.
That's not a swear word.
Is it not?
No.
Oh, just got me the sack. That's good, isn't it, mate? Are you looking forward to seeing me on a Saturday?
Yeah, can't wait. I mean, we're lucky that you had you on all the Facebook Lives and stuff last year. So, you know, I'm used to you hanging around on a Saturday.
Hey, well, listen, we'll see what we can drum up. And listen, mate, an absolute pleasure. One of the best British touring car drivers that's graced, I think, the touring car paddock in a long, long time. I'm so glad you're back for a second year. This will be your first time with 2 years consistent BTC. And it's great, mate. So thank you for your time, and just say thank you to all the fans. There's so many people have watched this. This is awesome. And thank you for your questions and all the thumbs up and everything. You've been sweet.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks for your super kind words, Paul. I'll put the check in the post.
Good man. Paul O'Neill Racing. Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.